All right. So the first computer ever created was created right at the end of World War II, and it is called the ENIAC. And it basically was housed in a room that's twice the size of my classroom, but it didn't even have nearly the digital computing power of your iPhone. Okay, so just think about that. It was made with transistors and vacuum tubes. Okay, so we have the ENIAC, first one. Robert Noyce, 1959, first to develop an integrated circuit on a single chip of silicon. Ever since then, the chips have gotten smaller and smaller. Technology has gotten cheaper and cheaper every year, and that progress is going to continue for the rest of civilization. Okay, moving on. Steve Jobs, you guys know Steve Jobs, I'm sure, the creator of Apple. Basically, he creates the Macintosh computer back in the 1980s or 70s, in fact, 1977. And the two Steves, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, go on to create the iPhone. And the world has never been the same since. Of course, you know the history of the iPhone, I'm sure. But I think the first iPhone was 2007. And then after that, they come out with a new one every year. Your iPhones, by the way, are made by slave labor in China. And the batteries for the iPhones are made by slaves in Africa. So your iPhone has a cost to it, folks, more than the $1,000 you pay for it. You are paying to actually use a product that is made by slave labor. So just something. By the way, I got one too. I'm not pointing fingers, okay? All right, moving on. We have Bill Gates. Okay, Bill Gates creates the Windows software, which actually he didn't create it at all. He bought it for $53,000 from one of his friends that was cashing out. And he went on to become the richest man in the world because what he did is he made sure that his Windows program only worked with Microsoft programs. So if you wanted to run Word, for example, or PowerPoint, or any of these other programs, you had to have Windows. Now, in order to sell his programs, what Bill did was pretty genius. He made it where they only ran with Windows, and then he gave away Windows for free to every computer manufacturer in the world. So you had his operating system, and if you had his operating system, you had to buy his programs. And he became the richest man in the world for a while. And he goes back and forth between being the richest and not being the richest. But anyway. All right, 1985, the National Science Foundation will establish several supercomputers around the country, which will become the basis of the internet, which was built originally for the military. All right, guys, use the quote to answer the question right here. There is just one remedy for the explosion of cyberbullying in modern day America. The internet filters should be used to detect abusive language and delete it automatically. Well, that kind of violates the First Amendment, I'm pretty sure, which is freedom of speech. All right, which solution is an effective and realistic alternative to the solution of cyberbullying proposed in the editorial? Again, an editorial is an opinion piece. All right, so what should we do to try to stop cyberbullying? That's what the question is, okay? Ban all social network sites. Sounds good to me. Probably not to you, though, okay? All right, next thing. Establish a voluntary, non-binding online social networking code of conduct. So you have to sign off saying that you'll behave online. But it says it's non-binding, which means that if you violate it, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's probably not good. Establish criminal penalties for online harassment. That's pretty much what happened, isn't it? Okay, so if you bully somebody online, the cops will take care of it. Okay, expel cyberbullies from school. That happens too, by the way. But it's not going to solve the problem across the entire society. All right, the expansion of the internet brought about a number of changes as well as social concerns. The ability to create virtual offices allowed an increased number of workers to perform office tasks from home. So you're familiar with that. Many of your parents and relatives probably work at home. Okay, so the internet's what allows that to happen. During COVID, you had to do your work from home. Popularity of social networking sites raised concerns about posting inappropriate material. Guys, the way I see it, if you want to stay out of trouble on the internet, there's a very simple rule to follow. Don't post anything you wouldn't want your parents to read. Okay? If you follow that rule, you're going to be okay. Unless you have some really crappy parents. All right, next one. The use of blogs, text messages, and online video helped to change how politicians could reach voters. Barack Obama really revolutionized the way the internet was used because he was the first presidential candidate to use social media and a new platform called YouTube to get out his videos to the public. Baby boomers began to feel pressure in the workplace for not being as technologically up to date as younger workers. By the way, they're still feeling that pressure. Okay? All right, here we go. A couple of questions. Industrialization helped transform the American workplace. That's in the end of the last century, folks. We're talking about the Industrial Revolution, where we had all those factories in the Northeast and stuff. Which development of the modern era has had a similarly large effect on the American workplace? Well, it's going to have to be digital computing, okay? There's just no way around that one. All right, the popularity of social networking websites has raised concerns about users posting inappropriate content about themselves and others. Which measure best addresses this problem without infringing on freedom of speech? All right, so again, what is the best solution here? How do we get people to stop posting inappropriate crap without imposing on their or infringing on their freedom of speech? All right, let's read all four of them. Require that all content be screened by site employees before posting. Do you realize how many workers it would take to actually screen every post on every website every day? That's not a viable option. Require users to agree to a code of online conduct emphasizing respect for others. That sounds pretty good. That's usually what they do. C, allow users to modify or remove potentially upsetting material posted by others. Would you like if other people got to modify your posts? Probably not. Give users a 1-week window during which they can change a post before it goes online. So this makes you wait a week to make a post. So that way somebody can look at it. Okay? Guys, the only one it's got to be B. Okay? B has to be the correct answer. All right, next one, we got a court case. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios versus Grokster Limited. The Supreme Court rules that anybody who distributes a device with the purpose of copyright infringement is liable for its use. That's a lot to explain, okay? So basically, back then, folks, we were having issues with file sharing, okay? People would take music and they would put it, or movies, and they would upload it to the internet on these websites, and you are free to go there and illegally, it is illegal, to download those things and burn them onto DVDs or burn them onto discs, and you can enjoy the movies or the music for free, okay? What this case is saying is that if you distribute a device that has this stuff on it, these illegal movies, these illegal songs, and somebody else uses it to infringe on copyright, then you are also guilty of copyright infringement. So let's go ahead and look at the question here. In Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, Inc. versus Grokster Limited, 2005, the U.S. Supreme Court held that one who distributes a device with the object of promoting its use to infringe copyright is liable for the resulting acts of infringement by third parties. Which effect on the music file sharing community was not a result of the court's decision? So what did not happen? That's what they're asking. All right, so let's use some common sense here. The Recording Industry Association of America begins suing file sharers for copyright infringement. That goes along with the court case. That sounds like it's viable, okay? The Supreme Court's decision led to a sharp drop in both legal and illegal music file sharing. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Since 2005, do you think we are sharing more or less music since 2005. Probably more, all right? So this one is completely not going to happen. There was no sharp drop off. The music file sharing went crazy, went out of control, and we got new companies that stepped up like Spotify and YouTube, and these companies made it easier to share files, okay?